Great. So, good morning, everybody. We are going to have a quick discussion today with Jackie and myself. We're going to discuss the role of hormones and how they interact with the body, and how, if you really understand how hormones work in your body, what you can do to, I suppose, change their levels, and that can have a great effect on either weight loss or on muscle gain. So, I'm going to bring in Jackie. Jackie, how are you this morning?
I'm fantastic, Jamie. What a wonderful, magical morning it is outside today. It's
And it's great.
frosty here down in Ennis, County Clare.
Yeah, great. It's great to see you there in the gym, actually. It's a
Yes,
good backdrop based on the discussion that we're going to have today, all those great supplements.
absolutely.
So one of the things I think that we focus on, we've talked about it, we've talked about the last couple of Saturdays about the role of the mind and goal setting and really making sure that I think if you're in the right mindset, you're much more motivated. And that's the original research behind Educogym. That's what it was all about. It was about how to use more of your mind and really involve it. And I think if you correct me if I'm wrong, but when we look at the data from the original study, it was all to do with essentially the amount of weight that people were lifting, and that has a particular effect on the body. So maybe from your point of view and your years and years of experience training yourself and training others, what is it that you understand about that type of physical training that we do?
Well, I think the weight training is so important. And as I always say, Jamie, we at Duco Gym are pioneering health and fitness because what we started doing 15 years ago, people are only starting to fully do now. The one thing that sets us aside from any other gym really out there is the whole area of the mind. And we're the only gym with a validated study to show that well, when people incorporated the area of the mind, they got incredible results with it. And that was the factor that really made the difference. So
Yeah,
with a Duco Gym, we're all about lifting those very, very heavy weights. And what we have to remember is, when you lift heavy weights, you build muscle. So muscle is a live tissue. And muscle is what burns up the fat and the calories. So you can do all the amount of walking and running that you want to do, but you're not really going to get results doing that. Because we'd often, Jamie, have people coming into the gym saying they're running for hours, 5 days a
yeah,
week, and getting nowhere. Wouldn't you agree? And then when they come into us and
absolutely.
they do 6 weeks, they're like, oh my God, I've just got incredible results with less effort and time because it's only 20 minutes, 3 days a week, just lifting weights. So as you said, hormones, that's what we have to understand, all about the function of hormones and the role they play in the body. That's
Yeah,
crucial.
absolutely. And it's funny actually when you mention running, because what I always find interesting now, I think it's important to say that obviously the best exercise for a person is the one that they're prepared to do. So it's prepared. So as long as they're prepared to do something, that's of huge benefit. But when you look at something like running, actually running does affect your hormones, and often people they do a lot of exercise in large volumes to try and lose weight, to try and get into better shape, but they don't really think to themselves, okay, well, how does that actually affect the body? And if you think of people, athletes actually who do long distance running, often they have a physique that doesn't have a lot of shape. They can be very, very lean, but they don't have a lot of muscle. And that's a very simple example, which you can see in real life, where a person's type of exercise affects how their shape is. So the body is very clever and wants to make it as efficient as possible. So it gets rid of excess muscle that you don't need for running. So you tend to build the legs, but you don't tend to build other parts of the body. And people often don't want to look like a long distance runner, but they exercise like a long distance runner, expecting a different outcome. And I always think that that's funny. And it actually, when I first got involved in this area 20 years ago, that's the first thing that you kind of start to understand is that the type of exercise is going to affect how you look. The type of diet obviously is going to affect how you look, and more the type rather than the quantity of exercise or the quantity of food, I think. But
Yeah,
that's
because it,
fair, I
but
think.
But Jamie, the great analogy I always give is that if you just picture a sprinter versus a long distance runner, they have a totally different type of training and a totally different type of physique. Now
Yeah,
we spoke about last week that aging is muscle deterioration and it's muscle loss. And the vital point for people to understand is that you're not just losing that muscle from the physical body, you're losing it from vital organs like your heart, the brain. They're muscles, and with aging, they're deteriorating. So if you really want if you're concerned about your health and your well-being, and you really want to stay looking as good, but also feeling as good and being as healthy as you can be as you get older, it is vital to build that muscle tissue, because it's going to make you look better, but it's also going to help you burn more calories, and it's also going to rejuvenate every organ in your body, and
Yeah, absolutely.
running, people are just miseducated, I think, in how things work in the
Yeah,
body.
it's based on flawed logic. It's based on the idea that if you simply burn more calories than you consume, that you're going to lose weight. But it's which is a very simple, energy in versus energy out kind of statement. But at the same time, your body is quite complex. Your body is also going to try and protect itself. So it's going to look at the situation that you're in, and it's going to find the most efficient way to survive. And as you get older, as we've mentioned before, you're like you just said, you're losing muscle. So you really don't want to do anything to accelerate it. Or if you really love running, you just need to make sure that you're going to incorporate certain things into your training and your nutrition that's going to make sure that you don't get the adverse effects from masses of running. I think that's actually probably a good way to look at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because there are people who just would say that for their head, for their mental space, they love to go for a run, and like that, I often say to people too, look, go for your run if that's what you love to do. Because as you said at the beginning, Jamie, what's the best exercise? Well, the best exercise is the one that you're going to do. And some people just love running. So, it's not that you shouldn't do it, but just understand how you need to build the body to support it then, so that you don't cause that serious deterioration that can happen with running.
Yeah.
The other thing, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're
No,
in flow.
the other thing I was going to say, JV, is that what's fascinating, especially in the current climate. I've heard people say, "Oh God," and they were so healthy, they were running all the time, and they got the COVID and stuff. But what I often say to people is that, and what we educate people in Educogym, it's about life force, and the best type of training also to affect your immune system is the type of training that you do that you train to the point that you feel euphoric from it, that you're not exhausting the body. So that's why the short spurts of high intensity training, like sprinting or lifting weights, like we do here in Educogym, that is much better for the body and the immune system than any long endurance training. So even, Jamie, if you explain maybe what happens with the hormones with between growth hormone and cortisol, maybe we should explain that to people.
Yeah, well, so last we've covered a number of topics over the last few weeks. So the mind obviously is so important, and what the original research showed was that if people train with a certain level of intensity, actually, if they really just lifted the heaviest weight or that they could, almost to an on all out effort, and when you can see in what you can see from the research that if people lifted a certain level of weight for a certain level of repetition. So repetition is the number of times that you do a complete lift or a repetition of that exercise. And what it showed was, and in research, is that when you lift with that level of intensity, it releases a hormone called growth hormone. And funny enough, the amount of time you train is very relevant, because what happens over the first sort of 20 to 30 minutes of doing intense training, you'll release a flood of growth hormone. And growth hormone helps to build muscle, burns fat. It's known as the king hormone. It can have a great effect on all sorts of hormones in your body. So it's the rejuvenating one. It's the one that's going to produce lots of energy. So you want lots of it. And after about 20 to 30 minutes, however, your growth hormone levels start to drop off. And around 30 to 40 minutes, it almost drops to zero. So you don't really release much more beyond that. And the amount of growth hormone that you release is directly related to the intensity of your training. And the intensity of training, or intensity, is directly related to the weight that you lift and the speed at which you do it and the time in which you do it. So you have to try and make it as intense as possible. Now, that doesn't mean when you just start training, you jump in there and you go at an all out effort, because that wouldn't be very clever. And it's also quite sore. You get a lot of muscle soreness. So, and in fact, and you know this, Jackie, when a person starts training, they actually need to do very little to get that positive stress response to produce growth hormone. So by doing a very small amount at the beginning, they can get this incredible result. It's when you've been training for a long time and you're trying to improve things that it becomes more, you have to really be clever about how you shock the body to produce more growth hormone. And you've seen that. I mean, it's amazing when you see people at the beginning, they do so little and then see such a dramatic change.
Yes, because it's all about hormones. And the reason they see those results is because they're producing that growth hormone, which is the key factor in it all. And I always, I don't know, Jamie, you probably have heard, remember Arnold Schwarzenegger? He's famous for saying that he used to squat until he fainted. And the reason he did that was because he was going after this growth hormone response. Because when you got the growth hormone, literally that takes care of everything in your body. It builds muscle, it rejuvenates your cell tissues, and it burns fat. It keeps you younger as you're growing older. And Jamie, I was having a discussion with a few people there recently. And I was saying about 20 years ago, I was working in the Tony Quinn Health Store, and this woman came into me from the UK. She was over on holidays and she looked amazing, right? And we just got chatting, and it turned out anyway that she was, I thought she was about 50 years of age, and she told me she was 70. And I, honest to God, I was like, what's your secret? And she said, you know what? She said, I had this health issue, she said, where I needed to get growth hormone. And she said, I was lucky that my son was a barrister, because she said he was able to help me to fight to get the growth hormone. So she needed to inject her growth hormone for the health issue, but she looked amazing. So like, you know, the growth hormone is what we're after. And there's natural ways that you can produce it, like training being one of them. But Jamie,
Yeah,
also, I think
absolutely.
if we explain about the you know what happens then, so we go for the growth hormone response in Educogym with the type of training that we do. But then if you explain what happens with cortisol.
Yeah, I'm actually might just draw it out for people just so that they can see it. So hopefully you'll be able to see this screen. So I've just drawn a very simple graph here. So this is, let's say, volumes of hormone, and this is time. So yeah, you can see that. So what actually happens is when you exercise, you start to release growth hormone. So it's this nice bell curve here, and then growth hormone drops off. So you could say that that's around 30 to 40 minutes. Um, this is really where you want to get the peak. Then you release this other hormone called cortisol, and cortisol increases over time. And cortisol is a stress hormone. You can't see that, it's just gone off screen. So I'll write it in here. Here it is, cortisol. So cortisol is a stress hormone that breaks down muscle tissue, and it has a lot of positive effects on the body. But from a training point of view, you want a certain amount of it, but you don't want it to increase endlessly. So that's one of the reasons that what we would recommend is that people train for short bursts, but actually also only do really 3 times a week is optimal.
Yeah.
Because over time, the more days you train consecutively, so people are so desperate to lose weight that they really do think that the more volume of training they do, the better. However, cortisol will build up in your system over time. So you do really need those rest days to allow it to diminish, to allow your body to fully recover. So it's that relationship between the two that's so important.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, if people could just really listen to the information that we're explaining today, because understanding the hormones and how to manipulate them is key to getting the result. So if you're listening to us and you're saying, God, yeah, I'm running, I'm doing a bit of weight, I'm watching my diet, but I'm not getting any results, I'm not getting anywhere with it. Well, then understanding the important role of the growth hormone and cortisol is key. And Jamie, it's true to say that, like, like when you do your 15-20 minute workout with the high intensity weights, it's important to try not to eat something for about a half an hour to an hour after your workout to get the best from that growth hormone response as
Yeah.
well. Isn't it? Because even when people think that they're having something just healthy like an orange or a protein shake, that can actually kill the effect of that growth hormone.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we're looking at here on this graph is this. This is your growth hormone level here. Um, if I can just stop it from trying to raise. So this is your growth hormone here. And let's say this is around 20 to 30 minutes where we're trying to get a peak. In this area here, you'll actually gain muscle. So where your growth hormone exceeds your cortisol. And in this area here is where you will tend to lose muscle, where your cortisol exceeds. So this all ties together quite nicely, and is sort of covering or very closely related to topics that we've covered before to do with nutrition. But what happens, as you're saying, Jacqui, the reason you want to leave a gap is because the other hormone that we're really concerned with, so if you just draw out this graph, is insulin. I've managed to take that off there, so just put that there, sorry. I'm going to put a line where you can see it. I've got a truncated screen. There we go. So you probably it's good to explain really the relationship between your blood sugars and insulin, because this is the other hormone that's so vital, and really this relates to your training. It's why 85% of getting results is to do with nutrition. We talked about the role of protein and really increasing protein. That's going to support your growth hormone. So when your growth hormone levels come up, it's looking to repair, rejuvenate the body. It'll help to build muscle. It also, your fat cells have receptor sites. Growth hormone plugs into those and causes you to release fat for energy. So it's one of the reasons that you get good weight loss and good energy release when you produce growth hormone. So from a nutrition point of view, we're also, after we focus on increasing protein, we obviously want to reduce sugar levels. So why is that?
So insulin is is another hormone. And listen to me when I say this, insulin is a fat storing hormone. I'll say that again. Insulin is a fat storing hormone. So insulin and growth hormone, they don't like each other. It's as simple as, right? So as Jamie just said there, 85% of your diet is 85% of getting a result. So you need to understand the role the diet plays in the hormones as well. So when you eat certain foods, right, that's going to cause a hormonal effect. So I usually categorize it, Jamie. I'll just explain it to people like this. Every single thing we eat produces sugar except fat. So we have 3 macronutrients. We have protein, carbs, and fat. Protein is the pillar of nutrition. That is so important for firming and building that muscle tissue. But at a certain point, protein can produce sugars as well. So protein being your meat, your fish, your eggs, your cheese, your nuts. Then you've got carbohydrates, and all carbohydrates produce sugar. So I categorize them in 3 levels. So you've low density carbs, medium, and high density. So your low density carbs would be things like green veg, green salads, acidic fruits. They're very low in sugar, so they're great for your waistline, great for your energy, great for your circulation, and they don't really produce much sugar. Your medium density carbs, also known as complex carbs, that would be things like sweet potato, brown rice, whole grain ribena, porridge. They're good health foods and they're slow release carbs. And then you have your high density carbs, which is all the white breads, the cakes, the biscuits, the sweets. They're loaded in sugar. All the white stuff is loaded in sugar. And then you've got your fat, which would be avocados, nuts, cheese, olive oil, butter. Fat doesn't actually produce any insulin. But when you eat something, let's say like white bread, well, when you eat white bread, what happens is that shoots your blood sugars up at a very fast rate. So insulin is released from your pancreas. Lots of insulin is released to bring that blood sugar back down to normal. Now, if you eat something like a complex carb like porridge, that causes a slow release. So your blood sugars do increase, but at a much slower rate. So insulin is still released, but very little insulin is released to bring that back down to normal. So the key thing is that you want to eat foods that don't create a huge insulin response. If you want to really keep up the body, burn fat, build muscle, and actually have much more energy and vitality, the more you can eat a diet that is low in sugars, which means you'll have a low insulin response, you're going to get all the benefits then of being in better shape. Now, we'll be discussing the Super U box in the minute, and in our Super U box, which we will show you, there's a booklet that gives you a low glycemic diet, which means that if you follow those foods, you will be taking control of that insulin response in your diet. Is that fair to say? So insulin stores, remember, yeah.
Yeah, and that diet, the diet plan that comes with the Super U box is brilliant because it has your shopping list, it has all the foods, and then it has a recommended nutrition plan, and it gets incredible results. So even if you open it, Jacqui, you'll see people be able to see the inside it. Yeah, there's a shopping list, and you get your list of carbohydrates that are recommended, you get your list of protein foods, and tips and tricks. You get recipes in it, how to make protein slices. Obviously, the protein that we covered last week is so vital. And maybe if I can, and you'll see from also, the way that the booklet is laid out, it also talks about the importance of tracking your results and being able to see. So we would think, over course of 30 days following that plan, you'll see incredible results. You really will. And it's so simple. And one of the things that we covered a lot with our clients this week was this idea of not denying yourself things because that's a certain mindset, but in fact actually trying to replace certain things that you're doing with a healthier option. And I think this plan is so clever. It's really well put together. It's beautifully done. Nicola from Educo Health spent a huge amount of time putting it together, and it really is an awesome guide. I think it makes so much sense. And then that, which is super sexy, I think, is the Super You box. And that has a range of different products in it. But I might just so that people can understand it, we'll just throw out very quickly the response of insulin food, and then we're going to cover the supplements that we think that will make a difference on top of a low glycemic, based on actually everything that we've covered over the last number of weeks. So again, just looking at this, looking at the graph, this is time across the bottom, and then this is your hormone levels across to the side. So typically what happens with people, and this, I'm sure a lot of people are going to relate to this, when they get up in the morning, they have some type of carbohydrate. They have cereal, they have toast, and they maybe they do have something like porridge, but they put lots of honey on it to sweeten it, or they have something like a banana, orange juice, all sorts of things that are higher in sugar. And what happens when you eat those foods is your blood sugar levels go up like this, and then your body releases a hormone called insulin, and insulin comes up. And when insulin comes up, then that causes your sugar levels to drop. So this is really the problem. When you've high levels of insulin and low blood sugar levels, that's when you can get hungry, you can get tired, and if you're hungry and tired, you'll tend to be moody, or hangry, people call it. Not you, obviously, watching this, but
Of
everybody
course.
else. And then insulin, when it's high like this, insulin, as Jackie said, is the hormone that tells the body to store fat. So your fat cells have receptor sites. Actually, what happens in the body is when you have excess glucose, the body converts excess glucose to triglycerides, and triglycerides are then taken into your fat cells. So often people think if I eat fat, I get fat. Actually, what can often happen is that it's excess glucose, excess sugar. The body can't use it quick enough. So to protect itself, because high levels of sugar are toxic, you then convert it to triglycerides, and then you store that in your fat cells. So often when people have have issues, maybe cardiovascular disease, or they're pre-diabetic, there's a high level of triglycerides will show up in the bloodstream. And that is a dangerous sign. You do not want to have high levels of triglycerides. So maybe also what we could just mention is that as you get older, so let's say in a perfect world, your insulin works super well. If you do have a high intake of sugar, insulin is very efficient at lowering that. You know, somebody who's type 1 diabetic will be aware of this, how toxic sugar levels can be. Over time, your hormones and your cells don't work quite so well, not quite so efficient. So maybe your body is depreciating over time, and you become more and more insulin resistant. And that means that the insulin doesn't quite work. So when you do take in sugars, then suddenly your body floods with insulin. And it's that flood of insulin that can cause all sorts of problems. And the other thing to note is that if your diet has been poor for a long period of time, that can also cause you to become insulin resistant. So that, combined with aging, can really have a disastrous effect. So what we're really showing, and what we recommend, is that actually focus on exercise. Increasing protein is probably your best first step, because that really helps to resensitize insulin levels. So then once we've addressed that with the diet that you showed, Jackie, what's the next best step to take then? What else would we recommend?
Well, one thing I would say to people is that, look, we have to look at the facts, and the facts are that type 2 diabetes is an all-time epidemic. So, you know, people need to take control of their health and their well-being, especially in times like now, because all the research is showing as well that if you're fit and healthy, good immune health, you know, it's best for you, but also your family, you know, and by you taking control of your life and taking control of your shape, your health, well-being, that's going to affect everybody around you guys, right? So you can, we spoke about the hormones, insulin and growth hormone, and understanding those is the key to, it's the secret to it all, actually, right? So you need to, like, I had somebody chatting to me there during the week about saying, what will I do? I'm overwhelmed with it all. But the thing is, Jamie, is that if people could just take the first step that they see to take. So last week we spoke about increasing protein, and we may touch on that again, but to just increase your protein. Just become aware that you need to up your protein. So the average person is probably taking in 30 grams of protein a day, when in fact they should be taking in at least nearly 100 grams of protein a day. So just to put that into context for a person, is that if you were to eat a fillet of chicken, that's probably about 25, 30 grams of protein a day. And that's what the average person's only getting in. That's all you need to survive. But if you want to really shape up, firm up your body and start to rejuvenate, you need to up your protein. And that's what we are going to discuss with the Super U box. So did you want to move on to that now?
Definitely,
Or?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because what we have noticed is that when you're increasing the protein levels, particularly if you're going to exercise and train, you need to be taking about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. And it's quite simple. If you look at sort of first class sources of protein, if you look at meat and fish, you could say they're roughly 20% protein. So if you were to take in 100 grams of fish or meat, you're getting about 20 grams of protein. So you'll suddenly quickly see if you're 160 pounds that you're going to need to try and get upwards to 140, 160 grams. You can suddenly think, oh wow, that's actually quite a lot of food. You can see why you're suddenly going to be less likely to snack and you're going to be much more satiated. But so how do you increase protein, and how can you make sure you get a good source of protein? So this is where the Super U box, which really, it's a 30-day plan, which really does transform the body. And this is a diet that I would have started with, this low glycemic diet plan, because you're immediately lowering in, and it's a plan that people find very easy to follow, and lots of great food, and you can always find something that you like and find something that's similar to what you like that is low glycemic. It's really not that difficult to change. So what else then, Jacqui, is in that super sexy box?
Okay, so I just highlighted that there's a list of all protein foods. So if you're not sure, it tells you, there's all your meat, your dairy, your eggs, everything is listed there, and they're sources of protein. So even if like Jamie explained insulin on the graph there, and he was saying that no, the average person is going to get up in the morning and they're going to eat something like a scone, or they might have cereal, or they might have porridge, and that's pure carbohydrate. There's no protein in that. So what we recommend people to do is to take, this is a product, if you can see it here, that's in our Super U box called Amino Energize. Now, Jamie, this is my all-time favorite product. I mean, if I had my way, I'd have everybody taking it. So just to explain, everything you're made up of, your skin, your hair, your nails, is a thing called amino acids. They're the building blocks of your structure. And an empty sac can't stand because most people are malnourished. They're not getting in the right ratio of amino acids. So what this guy does is it fills in the gaps of what's missing. So it's very good for your lean tissue, which helps your metabolism. It's good for your skin, your hair, your nails, your energy, but it helps you absorb all of your protein. So let's say, for example, you're having that slice of toast for breakfast. That is pure sugar, right? You're not absorbing any protein. But if you put just 2 or 3 amino energize with the toast, your muscle will take up the incomplete proteins, and now you've got a protein meal. And each tablet is a gram of protein, of pure quality protein. This product is a pharmaceutical grade, so it's the highest quality you can get. So that means that it's so pure, the liver doesn't even have to digest it. It goes straight into the bloodstream to do the muscle building and the repair work. So women, Jamie, I always say to women, if you have weak nails, it's a brilliant product to take. If you have weak hair, it's a brilliant product to take, because actually they're signs that you could be lacking protein. If you've got very, poor quality hair and skin, then you're probably lacking protein. So this is a great way to get it in. Do you want to add anything there, Jamie?
Yeah, so you have 40 essential nutrients that you must get from your food, and 25% of those are amino acids. So your amino acids help to make your skin, your nails, your digestive enzymes, your neurotransmitters, muscle, connective tissue, even your immune system is reliant on amino acids. So we would often think that actually it's much more important to get somebody to take a multi-amino acid as opposed to a multivitamin. So the amino acids really have such an incredible role to play in the body, and absolutely you'll find more energy, you'll find your immune system functions better, and like Jackie said, it's going to affect things like hair, nails, and really firming you up, all the sort of things that we're looking for from a program like this. So that's your amino energized 23 free form amino acids. Normally, just to say this, when you eat protein and you digest it, your liver has to work pretty hard to break up and distribute the right types of amino acids. And we've covered it in talks that we've done with Martin Ford, which you can find on our Facebook page. But with free-form amino acids, your body absorbs them much more readily. They're literally in a form that you can absorb straight into your bloodstream, pretty much from your tummy. So that is an amazing product. Okay, so
Yeah.
After that amazing product, we've got another amazing product.
And just to say again, if people are thinking, but sure, what will I do? Well, a step is increase your protein. How do you increase your protein? Take amino energizers. Just take three times a day. You'll have much more energy. You'll absorb more protein, and you'll be improving your health and well-being that way. Okay. The next product we have in this Super U is Amino Ore. Amino Ore is a fantastic fat burner. So if you have belly fat that you're sick and tired of, this is fantastic to take because it really does help to strip that extra fat on the body. It's a great product that you take at nighttime on an empty stomach. And what it does, the growth hormone we spoke about earlier, Amino Ore tends to help the body to produce a little bit more growth hormone. And just to explain, your pituitary gland here, it's positioned here, it's the master gland in the body, and it produces that hormone called growth hormone. Now, up to the age of 25, we produce lots of this growth hormone. That's why it's so easy for us to stay in shape when we're younger. And once we reach the age of 25, the growth hormone is still being made by your pituitary gland, but it's not releasing it. So the ways to activate the release of growth hormone would be, one, doing explosive weight training like we do in Educogym. That activates the release of growth hormone. The second thing you could do is take something like Amino Ore, because that will help to stimulate growth hormone as well. Obviously, we spoke about a diet, eating a diet that's low in sugar, which will mean that you're not producing much insulin. That's going to help growth hormone to be present as well. But Amino Ore is taken on an empty tummy and it burns the fat. It is fantastic. We've been selling this product for over, I'd say, 30-40 years, and it's the number one best-selling product that we actually have. So Amino Ore, I don't know if you can see it clearly there with the lighting. Okay.
Yeah,
anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. So the original research, when I suppose when scientists discovered that growth hormone had this incredible effect on the body, was with a guy called Dr. Rudman in the 90s, and he took a group of aging men between the ages of 60 and 80, and they injected them with growth hormone. So there were a number of men that started in the study, but then I think the original study ended with 12 men, and what they found, without changing any lifestyle factors, so they didn't change their exercise habits, they didn't change their diet habits, they noticed all sorts of improvements in their condition. So things like their skin thickness improved, they started to gain muscle. Now, without changing diet or exercising, they started to gain muscle. They had an increase in the density in the lumbar region of the spine. They also noticed things like hair starts to thicken, hair color starts to return, all sorts of incredible things as a result of taking growth hormone. So it's really the secret of a lot of Hollywood stars, and particularly men, aging men. I think we remember that Sylvester Stallone got caught with growth hormone in Australia. There's all sorts of stories of actors taking growth hormone to really improve their physique and their look. So there are a number of amino acids which are growth hormone releasers, and L-arginine is one, and L-ornithine is another. L-arginine actually converts to L-ornithine, and Amino Ore is L-ornithine. And so when you take L-ornithine, it helps to release growth hormone. So you must take it on an empty stomach. But the plan within the Super U box covers that. But it's a fantastic product. It's one I take every night before bed. I think it really makes a difference. That's why we're so used to looking, isn't it?
That's why you're not getting any grey hairs, Jamie, and it explains why I'm not getting any grey hairs either. I didn't know about that study. That study's fascinating.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Actually, there's a book which I just hopefully it'll pop into my mind before we finish this, which talks about the role that hormones play and the different anti-aging properties that they have. Yeah. So L-citrulline is another one that can cause you to release growth hormone. And just so you know, that's in the green part of watermelon. I think we had on our Facebook page as watermelon as this great food last week, but L-citrulline, which is in the green part close to the rind, that also helps to release growth hormone. There you go. There you know.
Yeah. There you go. And just another thing to say, Jamie, is that people, even if you don't come into us in the gym and train with us in Educogym, you can actually just start using this and improve your nutrition, and you'll get great results with it. So you don't have to be doing an exercise program to take these products. You can just take these products and you will get results. They're on the market 40 years. So they wouldn't still be here if they weren't getting results. So anyway, the other product that's in here would be magnesium, right? Now, magnesium is very important because what can happen is when a lot of people go on a healthier eating plan, they can get bound up, constipated. So if that does happen, all you need to do is take magnesium, because magnesium is fantastic to just loosen everything in the body. It's great for your heart, but we just would recommend that you take it. I mean, Jamie will explain a little bit more about it in the minute. But the reason we include it in our box is because we also have all these protein sachets. Sorry, I forgot to. So in the Super U box, you've got these protein powders. So the protein powders that we have here are casein of protein, but they're incredible to help firm up the body. The great thing about these protein drinks is that they're very alkalizing. So a lot of proteins can be quite acid. So your meat, your fish, your eggs, they're more on the acid side, whereas the protein drink is it's an alkalizing form of protein that's really soft on the body. The other incredible thing about our protein drinks is that they're very high in calcium. So they're great for your growing bones. If like, they can actually be given to kids, but from a woman's point of view, they're really good for your calcium content. I think one shake gives you nearly half your calcium requirements per day, and it's just, you can use it if you wanted to get into better shape. You can use it as a meal substitute, or you can also include it as an extra meal in your diet, depending on the result that you're actually looking to achieve. But those protein drinks, because they're so high in calcium and magnesium need to be balanced. So when you take a protein drink, we would advise that you take a magnesium tablet just to keep all the minerals balanced in your body. Anything you
Yeah,
want to add,
absolutely.
Jamie?
Well, those when I studied nutrition, those two nutrients, calcium and minerals, calcium and magnesium, they were absolutely fascinating. So from a training point of view and from a weight loss point of view, calcium causes things to contract. So actually, if you're lifting weights and you're contracting your muscle, you need calcium for that action to happen. Magnesium has the opposite effect, where it causes things to relax. So a lot of people would suffer from things like restless leg syndrome, or they might get cramping at night. Cramping can be a sign that you're lacking magnesium. So if you're confident that you're getting plenty of calcium through your diet, you need to balance that out, as Jackie's been saying, in a 2-to-1 ratio. So I think your RDA of calcium is 800 milligrams, and you need 400 milligrams of magnesium. Now, you do get lots of magnesium in green leafy vegetables, that type of thing. But when you increase your level of calcium, you definitely have a need to increase your levels of magnesium. And often people are very lacking in magnesium. It's one of my favorite minerals, the magnesium, because of the effect it has on heart health, because of the effect it has on causing people to be more relaxed. It helps with digestion, and you would be surprised, maybe watching this, if you have digestive issues where you have a tendency to become very constipated, and it often can happen with females during their monthly cycle, that they tend to drop magnesium levels. So it can be something that really helps to keep everything regular, and being regular is extremely healthy. And it's not something that people often talk about. And being
Yes.
regular means going once minimum per day, and even after every meal is fine. If it's more regular than that, then it's too regular, but definitely at least once a day. So we have, is that everything that we have in the box? Just to say that calcium caseinate, in independent studies, it performed incredibly well against other proteins, and in particular whey. So there are some amazing studies with a French scientist, I think he's French, Boire, and they looked at the body's ability to recover and rejuvenate, particularly with burn victims. So people had third-degree burns, and so they were interested in how the skin regenerated, how they recovered after that. And calcium caseinate was a protein that performed very well in that scenario. And then they did a study with police officers in Boston, and they gave them different types of protein. But the one that they held on to and gained muscle, but actually lost fat, particularly from the waist, was when they took calcium caseinate. So those were some independent studies, and it really showed the benefits of calcium caseinate. So which we do. All the proteins there behind Jacqui are all casein proteins. And that
Yes.
alkaline effect can't be underestimated. So disease doesn't do very well in an alkaline environment. So alkalizing the body is really, really important. So we think that program, particularly because we've talked to a lot of people, we're getting a lot of people who are doing at-home workouts, at-home routines. And if people are interested in that, they please do contact us, because we'll help you to devise a workout that will help you get into shape, particularly during lockdown. But that Super U box, which looks incredible, credit to Nicola and Educo Health for all the work that she put into it. It really is a stunning program, and it works so well. So if you're not that keen, or you're finding that between having all the kids at home and homeschooling and all the pressures that are going on at the moment, just following a program which is so easily laid out, and you don't have to worry about or increasing your exercise routine or anything like that. Great to get out for a walk for your mind, and great to be active. But that program will really help you to strip off fat and to help you to regain lost muscle tissue. So you'll notice an increase in your energy. You won't get so stressed out with who's going to share the screen next for their homeschooling. I think you'll really find that it'll make a massive, massive difference.
Yes, and
What about
Jamie,
anything to add?
you could, if people wanted to order it, they can order it on the Educogym website, can't they? Yeah.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
and also I'm here.
Educogym.com/store. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm also here in the Ennis location. I come in by appointment, so you can private message me on Facebook, and I'm more than happy to come in if you want to pick it up. But it's a brilliant product. It's something that you can start straight away just to improve everything in your diet, actually. So
yeah. So what's the best email address to get you at, Jacqui, if they or alternative to private messaging?
Ennis, ENNIS at educogym.com. Just pop me an email and I can arrange to be in here to meet you to give you the product if you want it. But they're brilliant, guys. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that come into us and take the products. So like, even when they come in to join the gym to do the exercise, and we're all nutritionists, so we improve their diet, we always encourage that they actually take this with it. So I always see it's almost like, four wheels in a car. So you've got your mindset. So you have to get your mind clear about the goal that you want. Then the next thing is that you have to start doing something about it, like lifting weights or going for a walk or doing the online workouts with us here at Educogym. The next thing will be to improve your diet. That's the fourth part. And then the third part. And the fourth part will be actually taking food supplements that are really going to aid your results. And through the years, my experience of people taking these products, you'll get results without them for sure. But people who take the food supplements, they get incredible results just because it's completing everything in the body. And that's what's so important. Those amino energizers are going to help you absorb more protein. Another key thing about those is that when we do increase our protein, so if we take in more meat or fish, all proteins have an NPU attached to it, a net protein utilization, as in how your body uses the protein. So eggs would be a superior class protein because they've got an NPU of 94%. So it means if you eat an egg, your muscle absorbs all the protein. The protein shakes we have, the reason those casein proteins are really good is because they've got an NPU of 92%. So it means if you drink one of those shakes, you're absorbing all the protein. But when it comes to meat, fish, and chicken, the NPU is only about 63-4%. So it means when you eat your meat, you're only actually absorbing 2/3 of the protein, and the other third is either excreted by the body or converts to sugar. But if you take 2 or 3 amino energizers with your meat or fish, your muscle takes up all of that protein. And remember, that's going to build the muscle and get your metabolism working much better for you. So I just wanted to cover that point. But
it's so important. Yeah, the net protein utilization is so vital, and it's one of the reasons that Tony came up with the formula for amino energize originally, was the idea that when you took those extra amino acids to help complete protein. And actually, we also do a casein protein called Proform 100, which comes in a raspberry flavor. It's my favorite. And we've added extra amino acids into that to form a complete protein. So looking at the NPU of eggs is 94, as Jacqui said. So what amino acids are required to form a complete protein with the likes of casein? So it's really technically brilliant products that actually really do make a difference.
Yes.
Great. So I think we've really covered everything. We are also going to launch for February. February the 1st is a Monday, and people like to start something on a Monday and on the first of a month. So it really it ticks both boxes. But it's also 28 days long. So it's a perfect 28-day challenge. So we're going to combine that challenge with the Super U box. So I think it'll be something that people could really wrap their minds around and make sure that they're going to emerge from lockdown like a butterfly. Just beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, so so we really have everything in that program to between exercise. We're going to have relaxations are going to start in the first week of February. I think we've managed to snag Tom for the 4th. He's committed now, having said that. And we'll also, hopefully, we'll be able to get Martin to help us out with more nutritional information. Martin has huge amount of experience and has actually played a vital role in putting together a lot of the Educo health products, the formulas, and I don't want to say mad scientist, but he's an incredible mind, incredible scientist. So those products are absolutely brilliant. I've been taking them for over 20 years. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Okay, so I think that's everything that we have for you today. Jacqui, anything that you'd like to add in, or
I was going to say, Jamie, that's why you look so well, because you've been
thank
taking
you.
all those supplements.
How did you get ahead of me on that one? I should have been in there much faster. Oh dear.
But no,
Likewise,
I
likewise.
thoroughly enjoyed this morning, and I really would encourage people to listen to it again, because to understand those hormones, insulin and growth hormone, is the key to it all.
That's it. That's why we both look so well in our 40s.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us from the different groups that we've tuned into. So the challenge group, I know you guys are working really hard. The Life Force group are really probably getting an introduction to Educogym. It's great to have you. And then we're live on YouTube and on our main Facebook page. So thank you, everybody who watched this. And if you're watching it later, we really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and have a great weekend. Goodbye.
Happy weekend.